Hello everybody, my name is Amber. Welcome back to the Words and Rules Review course. In today's class, we're going to review comparative adjectives. So that's words like older, newer. Let's begin by looking at an example sentence. Summer is older than Willie. Sylvia is taller than Joe. Rocky, the dog, is more beautiful than Peanut, the cat. Okay, first of all, I'm going to show you a table of adjectives, and that will pop up on your screen on the left side. Then you'll see another table on the right side, and in this table will be a list of comparative adjectives. And I want you to look at the differences between adjectives and comparative adjectives. You have 10 seconds. Your time starts now. So we can see here that there is a small difference between adjectives and comparative adjectives. Now, in this course, we call these adjectives ER adjectives and more adjectives. So old becomes older, tall, taller, new, newer, easy, easier, and then something a little bit different happens. Beautiful becomes more beautiful. Well, we'll have a look at that later on the lesson. So, in today's lesson, we have 3 goals: to look at the meaning of ER and more adjectives. We're going to learn how to use ER and more adjectives in a sentence. And then we will look at the 4 different forms of ER and more adjectives. Ready to begin? Let's go. So we will start by looking at the meaning. So what do we use ER and more adjectives for? Well, we use them to compare people, places, or things. Now, if the word compare is an unfamiliar word for you or a new word, take out your dictionary, pause the video, and research this word. This is a really key word to understand. So, when we talk about comparing something or people or places, it means to look for the differences between 2 or more things. So we compare them. For example, I have 2 pieces of paper. One is big and the other is small. This one is bigger. This one is smaller. So that's a difference between the 2 pieces of paper. Now, how do we use ER and more adjectives in a sentence? Well, we begin with the subject. So in this case, Rocky, the dog, or he. Next, we have the verb, is. And then here we have the comparative adjective, the ER, more adjective. So here are some examples: faster than, heavier than, more beautiful than. And then we have the object. So in this case, Peanut the cat. So Rocky is faster than Peanut, Rocky is heavier than Peanut, and Rocky is more beautiful than Peanut. Okay, it's time for our first activity. Now, if you're watching this video on E2 School, you can do this activity on our website, just below the video. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just use your brain to think of the answers, or sign up to E2 School. All right, let's take a look. Your first activity, you need to reorder the sentences. You have 1 minute. Okay, everybody, time is up. Let's take a look at the answers together. Our first sentence, Grandpa George is older than Joe. Next, gold is more expensive than silver. Sylvia sings better than Grandpa George. And lastly, Rocky is heavier than Peanut. Okay, next we're going to take a look at the form. Now, there are 4 different forms of ER and more adjectives. 1 syllable form, 2 syllables when the word ends in Y, 2 or more syllables, and then we have the irregular form. Now, you may be wondering, what is a syllable? Well, every word in English has syllables or a syllable. A syllable is the beat of a word, so we can clap them. For example, cheap has 1 syllable. Easy has 2. Difficult has 3, for example. And another example, interesting, that one has 4. So let's start by looking at the first form. So we use this one for short adjectives of 1 syllable, so old, cheap. Now with 1 syllable adjectives, you take the adjective and then you add ER. So old becomes older, tall, taller, cheap, cheaper. Summer is tall. Summer is taller than Willie. Okay, time for our second form. This is for adjectives that have 2 syllables, but the word must end in Y, the letter Y. So for example, easy, pretty. The rule here is we take the adjective and then we delete the Y, we chop it off. And then we add IER. So that means easy becomes easier, pretty, prettier, early, earlier. Summer is funny. Summer is funnier than Willie. Okay, time for our third form. This one is for long adjectives. So this can be 2 syllables, like careful, or 3 syllables, such as difficult, or even 4 syllables. Adorable. So this is what we do. We don't delete anything, we add something before the adjective. So more careful, more difficult, more adorable. Let's have a look at an example sentence. Peanut is careful. Peanut is more careful than Rocky. Okay, time for our 4th and final form. This is for irregular adjectives. Take the example of good. So good is a short adjective. It's 1 syllable, good, but it does not become gooder. Instead, we say better. Another example, bad does not become badder. We say worse. Joe is good at science. Joe is better than Sylvia at science. Willie is bad at maths. Willie is worse than Summer at maths. Okay, time for activity 2 to take all that information you've just learned and apply it. Now, in this activity, you need to change the adjective. So, for example, old becomes older. You have 45 seconds. Okay, how did you go? Let's take a look at the answers together. So, high becomes higher. Okay, next, busy becomes busier. And busy is a 2-syllable word and it ends in Y. So remember, when the adjective ends in Y, we delete the Y and we add IER. Next, boring becomes more boring. Now, boring is a 2-syllable word, boring, but it does not end in Y, so we need to add more. Okay, now we have 3 more words for you to try. You have 45 seconds again. You ready? Let's go. Okay, let's take a peek at the answers. So, what did you have for good? Well, the correct answer is better. And remember, good is an irregular adjective. Now we have exciting, which becomes more exciting. And then lastly, bad, which turns into worse. So we have another irregular adjective. Okay, everyone, now it's time for our final activity of the lesson. If you're on E2 School, just do this activity on the webpage. Okay, in this activity, you need to choose the correct form of the adjective. You have 45 seconds. How did you find that activity? Let's have a look at the answers together. So, first of all, Joe says, "How should we travel to Sydney?" Sylvia responds by saying, "Let's fly. It's faster than driving." Now, remember, fast is a short adjective, one syllable, fast. So we add ER on the end, faster. Grandpa George responds by saying, "Driving is more relaxing than flying." Now, relaxing has got 3 syllables, relaxing. So we need to add more in front. Okay, now, this one was a trick question. Willie says in return, "Well, but flying is more fun than driving." Now, this might have been a difficult one to get the correct answer because fun is an irregular adjective. So we say more fun, even though it's only one syllable. And then Summer finishes the conversation by saying, "Well, no, I want to go to Perth. It's so much better than Sydney." So here we have another irregular adjective. Okay, so to recap today's lesson, we looked at the meaning of ER and more adjectives. We learnt how to use them in a sentence, and we learnt their forms, the 4 forms of ER and more adjectives. So let's take another look at them now. 1 syllable, 2 syllables that ends in Y, 2 or more syllables, and then irregular adjectives. So cheap becomes cheaper. Easy becomes easier. Difficult, more difficult, and bad turns to worse. If you'd like to learn some more about ER and more adjectives, we have some really great lessons on E2 School that can help you understand this grammar point in more depth. In Level 3, you can learn how to use them, so in greater detail than what we covered in today's class. On Level 5, you can learn how to use parallel ER and more adjectives. So, for example, that's a sentence like, "The faster I run, the more tired I will be." Also, in Level 5, you can learn how to use repeated ER and more adjectives. So, for instance, I could say, "Well, I ran faster and faster." If you're watching on our YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. That means you'll be one of the first students to see these videos. Give us a like or write a comment on what you'd like to see, or share this with your friends. Thank you very much for watching and joining me on your journey learning English. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.